I think the most important thing is, regardless of whether you've got 200 followers or 200,000 followers, those people are still there for you. And you need to just be straight up with them. They're still there for a reason. So I think just being upfront and honest with your audience and just letting them know, hey, this is why I want to do it. You're welcome to follow along, but ultimately it's my account and I'm going to do what I want.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode. In this episode, I am talking to a fellow dog blogger. You may know Melanie Demi from her Instagram and TikTok accounts at Her Boozy Tales. She shares with me why she added a blog to her content platforms about 2 years ago and why it's a good thing to consider for other pet influencers. Melanie also shares her advice around pivoting content and how she decided to change the name on her social media accounts last year. And of course, we also talk about dogs. Melanie has traveled the country with her pack that includes a Great Dane, a Golden Retriever, and a Dachshund. Melanie and I met earlier this month when we were working on a panel discussion for the Pet Summit. This once-a-year summit is happening October 23rd and 24th, and it's all virtual, which means that you can watch from anywhere in the world. Get your tickets at thepetsummit.com and look for the panel featuring pet bloggers. You'll see me and Melanie, as well as many other of our pet blogging friends on there. Melanie Demi is a dog mom content creator and blogger who loves to share dog-friendly lifestyle tips and travel guides to help people live their best life alongside their pups. You can find everything from travel to local Austin area dog-friendly hangouts to boozy adventures on her accounts. Melanie is on Instagram and TikTok at Her Boozy Tales. That's Tails, of course. And you can find her blog at 3dogs1bar.com. Hey, Melanie.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing so good. I'm excited to hear all about your blog and your social media because you're doing really awesome things.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So for everyone who's listening, Melanie and I recently recorded a panel discussion for the Pet Summit, which is coming up soon. And that's kind of how we connected. And I realized I had interviewed almost everyone on the panel on my podcast, except for Melanie and the ladies from Pretty Fluffy, which will be coming soon. So I'm excited that you made some time to come here and be on the show and talk really about blogging because, you know, we're always talking about social media. Everyone wants social media followers, but having a blog is still relevant and still important. But let's take a step back, I guess, and start at the beginning, like we should with a good story, and tell us kind of how did you get into the world of being a pet influencer, pet content creator?
Yes. Oh man, I feel like I started like every other pet Instagram account where I had so many pictures of my dogs because I think my dogs are the cutest dogs in the entire planet. And my personal feed was getting overrun of just dog pictures. I'm like, I'm going to start an Instagram account and make it just for them. It's transitioned a lot over the years. We can get there eventually. But for the first couple of years, it was just that. It was a place to build a community and share cute pictures of my dogs. And we started gaining some followers, making some friends, which was amazing. And then it kind of started turning into a little bit of, I realized the opportunity of making it a little bit of a business. You know, I wanted to make it a place where, but I'll take it back a little bit. I love traveling with my dogs. I love doing things with my dogs, but I was struggling to find a source for dog friendly like places. And especially here in Austin, which is where I'm based, of where can I take my dogs when it's 110 degrees out and we can maybe get some AC or when it's raining. And so I was like, I could be that source for everyone else. So that's kind of where I got started. But then I started also thinking about I'm on a platform like Instagram and Facebook where I am not in control of what's happening. And like we noticed recently with the Instagram, Facebook outage, they could just disappear one day. And I was like, I need something that's mine and something where I can, if for whatever reason these platforms go away, like they've done in the past, where I can continue being that resource. And so then I launched my blog about 2 years ago just to have a little piece of something that is solely mine.
I love it. Well, and I love that you started kind of in ways that other people did, like sharing dog photos. And now your account is really a mix of like your lifestyle and going out and having fun as you, and then also doing stuff with your dogs. And can you just talk a little bit about how you combine those, or how do you decide which one gets more play? How do you balance out the content for that?
Oh, it's hard. I never, like the first 2 years that I had my account, I don't think I posted a single picture with me in it. It was just the dogs. But at the same time, on my stories, I was taking people on these adventures that I was going on. My husband and I love to travel, and like everyone else, we try to take our dogs and bring them along everywhere we can. But if we can't, I was still having fun showing that side of my life. And eventually, I came to the realization, I don't know why it took me so long because it's very obvious, but pet accounts are run by humans, and those humans also like to go out and do things that maybe I am also doing, sometimes without my dogs. And so about a year ago, I started, putting a little bit more of me out there. But actually, my account used to be called Great Golden Weenie because I had a Great Dane, a Golden Retriever, and a weenie dog, a Dachshund. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was a great play on words. But I also started, once I started gaining some traction, I would get invited to a media event, and they'd be like, "Are you the Great Golden Wiener?" And I'm like, "Oh God, okay." So, and as I evolved, I thought that I needed a name to evolve with us. So in June of this year, I actually made the change from Great Golden Weenie to Her Boozy Tales. And with that, I also was very transparent with my audience. And I was like, "Hey, I'm planning on doing this. My content is going to stay the same. You might just see my face a little bit more on it, but it's still going to be taking your dogs places and living your best life with your dogs. So if you want to stick around, I'd love that. But if not, this is what's happening." And for the most part, everybody's been so supportive, and the change transitioned smoothly, as smooth as I thought it could have gone. So I've been really, really lucky.
So what kind of advice? I do hear this from people a lot, and especially I think with pet accounts, because maybe a pet crosses the Rainbow Bridge or something like that, or you get a new pet or whatever, they want to change their Instagram name. What kind of advice would you have for people who are thinking about doing that?
I think the most important thing is, regardless of whether you've got 200 followers or 200,000 followers, those people are still there for you. And you need to just be straight up with them. Let them know. I took to my stories and I was like, "Hey, y'all, this is my plan. I want you to be aware. I want you to be a part of the change." I was struggling for a really long time to come up with a new name that encompassed everything that I wanted. And I came up with 3 different ones, and I snagged those handles, and I actually left it up. Well, kind of. I left it up for a vote. I put a poll on my Instagram stories and was like, "Which one do you like the most?" And and ultimately the decision was up to me. But I feel like making it to where you can feel like they have a say in it, because again, it's not your personal Instagram. You're still doing something for them, whether it's just creating content that they enjoy following, or whether it's actually creating useful content and that's your goal, whatever it is. They're still there for a reason. So I think just being upfront and honest with your audience and just letting them know, "Hey, this is why I want to do it. You are welcome to follow along, but ultimately it's my account and I'm going to do what I want."
Yeah, right. Well, you just touched on something that I think I want to just point out. Creating content that people just enjoy seeing versus useful content. Maybe not versus useful content, but they're kind of two different things. There can be overlap, of course. But I think that's just something to point out to people that providing useful content like with you with like guides, like here's actually where you can take your dog when it's 110 degrees or when it's raining, instead of just a cute photo and not really telling people why you went there or what was so great about it or anything like that. I think that is kind of what is going to set your account apart from others.
Yeah, thank you. And I think too, like there's we touched on this on in our recording for the Pet Summit, but there's room for everybody in this space. And I think the most important thing is finding something that is interesting and that is special to you. It doesn't have to be, showing dog friendly places. Maybe you really enjoy training. Finding those couple of things that's going to make your account unique, but also things that you're passionate about, I think is going to translate so well to your audience versus just, I see so many people trying to share dog friendly spots, but that they're only doing it so that to have that in their like niche or category per se, but they're not super like very passionate about it. And your audience can tell that too. So just finding things, for example, I love drinking and booze, and how did I tie that in with my dog account? I don't know, but I did it and it's been working. So,
well, I think it works out perfectly because in a lot of places, breweries are the most dog friendly places. I know here in Pittsburgh, where I live, it's something with the health board. And like, since they don't prepare food, usually at most breweries, you can allow dogs.
yes.
But then it's up to the individual business too. Like, so anyhow, I think alcohol and dogs do kind of go together.
I think so too, but maybe that's just me, justifying my reasoning, but
You're like, I
love
need
it.
to go to the bar. It does work.
Oh, the amount of times that I take my dogs to a brewery and go work from there. But it's great because like you said, that A, I enjoy it, and B, there's other people that enjoy it too. And being able to document it and share that with my audience, I think is not only fun for me, but it also feels a little bit rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just fun to document for yourself, even to look back later.
Yeah.
So one other thing that we were talking about is your blog. And so you created this, you had your Instagram for a while and then you created the blog. So what kind of stuff do you post on the blog? How is it different than Instagram? What do you do there?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be fully honest and say that I've been a terrible blogger recently, and just have not had time to publish as much as I want to. But I need it. It's one of those things. If anybody wants to start a blog, do it, but also don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overdo it. Like do what's best for you. So I've been taking a little bit of a break from the blog, but the difference between my blog and my Instagram is my main goal is creating detailed dog friendly travel guides to cities across the US. And like, yeah, social is great for getting, some snippets of content here and there, or, sharing maybe a place or two. But on the blog, I can say, okay, here's the 3 best dog friendly hotels in this area. Here's why, here's the price range. I can write so much more. And I just think there's so much more opportunity for detail and for it to be a helpful resource to people, where social is more of just a quick, here's what you got, and, maybe do your own research kind of thing.
I think that social nowadays is kind of for people who are like already following you.
Yes.
And then your website, your blog or your website or whatever is where people might discover you, because if they're planning a dog friendly trip, they're going to Google
exactly
city, and your Instagram's not going to come up. And so
exactly.
hopefully your blog's going to come up, and then they're going to be like, oh, I see she's on Instagram and TikTok or whatever. I'm going to go follow her there. And you can kind of keep in touch with them on your social. And at least that's the like vibe I'm getting from the internet these days.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly too, I mean, when I'm researching places, I Google, but I do also like, if let's say I'm not from Austin and I'm visiting Austin, I might go to like #AustinDogs and see where they're going. And that's also where I get a lot of my inspo from too. So I think it's the beautiful thing about, having both is that there's like such an opportunity to blend the two and use the two as resources, and like almost like balance off each other. I don't know. It's such a cool world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. It is great. I think I usually probably start Googling to get like the general things down, like where I'm going to stay, like,
Yep.
is this place dog friendly, like in general? And then I'll go to Instagram and look up like geotags to be like, where am I going to take my Instagram photos when I get there?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's great.
Do you wish that you could create merch like t-shirts and mugs for your pet business, but you don't want all that inventory sitting around, and who has time to manage shipping out orders? A few years ago, I discovered that print on demand allows you to sell high quality products with zero inventory or trips to the post office. I'd rather walk my dog than pack up orders. From October 18th to 22nd, I am hosting a free 5-day challenge that will introduce you to a new revenue stream for your pet business. During this challenge, I'll help you discover what your pet-obsessed audience will be begging to buy and set up your first ready-to-sell product, all in just 5 days. Over 200 petpreneurs and pupfluencers went through this challenge with me last year, and I loved to see the products that they created and went on to sell. The 5-day on-demand Products for Pet Lovers Challenge is happening October 18th to 22nd. You can grab your free spot at wearwagrepeat.com/product-challenge. I hope to see you in there. So speaking of these cities and these dog-friendly cities, what are some of your favorite dog-friendly cities?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Besides Austin, you can't say Austin.
I was going to say Austin is still the most dog-friendly city that I've been to. But a couple other favorites. I love the Huntington Beach area in Southern California. It's amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend, especially if you have a dog who enjoys the beach. They've got the most beautiful dog beach there. And most of the places are very, very dog-friendly. We've also done, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but we've done Denver a few times, and everybody always says Denver is so dog friendly. And while there's a lot of things to do outside with your dog, because of city health code, a lot of patios within, like, even outside patios within the city limits don't allow dogs. So we encountered, like, I think we found more places that were not dog friendly than those that were. So
well, I think that's kind of like Denver had also the pit bull ban.
yeah.
And that's something that I'm becoming more aware about, is like cities who don't embrace dogs, period. Like they're not going to be as dog friendly. So even though that's a very outdoorsy town, there's obviously some kind of systemic attitude.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy. We've also done Asheville, North Carolina, or I don't know if it's actually North Carolina or South Carolina.
It is North Carolina. I always get so confused, but I've been to Asheville. I took Lucy there a couple years ago, and it is truly very dog friendly.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's probably one of my favorite stays that I've done ever with the dogs. Orlando, Florida, like surprisingly very, very dog friendly.
You guys have been all over. Do you drive? Did you go on like a big road trip?
To get to Asheville, yes. To Orlando, we've also done New York. We've flown to those. So the nice thing about my kind of crew is I have 3 dogs. I've got a Great Dane, a Golden Retriever, and a Dachshund. Obviously, the Great Dane and the Golden can't fly. But so whenever we are going to places to explore dog-friendly, like, things, we can usually fly with the little one, and then our other 2 get to go on adventures that we can drive to.
Yeah, that's super fun. That is nice to have the different sizes. Because I have 2 Labradors. So I have flown with one of them before, but nowadays that is more challenging.
Yes.
And maybe impossible. And so I have kind of thought it would be fun to have a smaller dog.
It is. It's nice. I always feel bad because I would love to bring the entire crew. And I know that's something that I get a ton of comments on, like, oh, why is only Brooklyn here? I'm like, well, because I'm not shipping the other 2 in cargo, and it's not practical for us to drive right now. But, somebody really needs to come out with a pet-friendly airline. I would pay so much money for that.
I mean, I don't really see why the airlines are so against it. Like people want to fly, they want to take their dog. How
Yeah.
does it hurt?
I don't know. I don't know, but maybe
I
one
don't know.
day.
I don't know. I don't think the airlines are listening to this podcast, unfortunately. But we'll just send some vibes their way that hopefully they change their attitude on that. So speaking of these dog-friendly cities and these itineraries, when you are blogging about this, how do you structure the blog post? I know that seems like a very basic question, but sometimes those reveal kind of like your strategy of how you do it. So how do you put together these itineraries or these guides?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is like a smart way to do it or if it's a selfish way to do it, but I structure them the way that I would want to find a blog post and like the things that I would be looking for. So I start with hotels. I usually like to give a couple of different price range options as well as options because I have big dogs that are welcoming of big dogs and also those who might not be for those who have small dogs. Then I go into dog-friendly restaurants, bars, and breweries. Also very important to me because I love to eat anywhere we go and drink. So I give a couple of options in each of those categories throughout the city, and then I go into dog-friendly activities. So it could be dog-friendly hikes, maybe parks, any fun activities where you can bring your dog along. And so those are like the three main sectors of each travel guide. But within it, I have like a packing list and maybe some like tips or things to think about, like coming to Austin in anytime between May and October, you're definitely going to be sweating your tails off. So come prepared, things like that.
Yeah. Well, and something else that I've noticed, I think some people are hesitant to do like hyper local specific content because they're like people on the internet, like there could be anywhere. But do you notice that when you post kind of very specific local things that they do well because I don't know, it's just more targeted.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think the hardest part for me with just my accounts in general is that I am in Austin, so I do post a lot of Austin specific content. So therefore, a lot of my audience is in Austin. But I also, like I said, I love to travel and I want to reach a broader audience of people who might also love to travel and take their dogs places or do fun things. So it's been definitely interesting to find a balance of, how often do I post Austin versus evergreen content versus travel content. But because most of my audience is local, I do find that either local or travel that places from or that people from anywhere we would be able to visit tend to perform the best.
Yeah, I think that I think that's something that a lot of accounts should take more advantage of because I've noticed just looking at my Google Analytics this month, I did a blog post that I forgot I even did about dog-friendly pumpkin patches in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And there was really only one. I mean, I did a lot of research. I looked all over. There was really like one. And so it's a blog. I was kind of disappointed. I thought I was going to do this whole guide. And instead, I wrote this whole blog post. It was like, here's the one, you guys. And I also mentioned in the post, like, here's the ones that are very popular pumpkin patches, but that do not allow dogs. So don't even bother. I already did the research for you. And exactly. I forgot that I even did this blog post and I was kind of discouraged about publishing it because there was only one. But this year, people are Googling pumpkin patches near me. And people are going to that post that I published a while ago. So I think that doing anything that's like hyper local like that is such a good idea. You might not get traffic to it all year long, but when it is relevant, it's going to come up as like the number one result.
Definitely. And even if people are searching just for dog friendly, or not even dog friendly, but just for pumpkin patches near you, and your blog post comes up and they do have a dog, at least, like you said, you've done the research and it beats having to sit there and call all of these places and say, hey, can I bring my dog? No. Okay. There's this only one spot. So now I know. And then, it's awesome.
I think that's like the huge value of bloggers and like the travel guides that you put together is we do the research. We go to the places actually personally and test it out and tell you what we think.
Exactly. We're not
And
just,
that's like, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's kind of what always frustrated me about like Bring Fido. People are always like, oh, I love Bring Fido. It's so great. And I have found that it's not that great because it's not always places that people have personally recommended, or like bloggers like us who've taken big dogs and little dogs and can tell you everything about it.
Exactly. And sometimes too, I find that like websites like Bring Fido aren't always up to date, especially I use them. I still use them as a resource for finding dog friendly hotels, especially. But then I also narrow down that research by doing my own research and then, of course, visiting them, et cetera, because a lot of the policies change. Some hotels that used to be dog friendly are no longer, or vice versa. And you don't know until you do the research yourself. So,
yeah, we need to get everyone to go to everyone's blogs more. I feel like social media has taken over and the blogs have taken a back seat, but we have valuable information there.
We do. We do a lot of research, I promise.
Yes. So people can go to your blog, 3dogs1bar.com. And how did you come up with the name for that? Because it's different than your social media.
Oh, man. So I started the blog when I was still a Great Golden Weenie, and I did not want to have a website called greatgoldenweenie.com. I think it would not have brought the right kind of audience. And so I was really struggling. This was, again, 2 years ago. So before I even thought of changing my social handles. And so I wanted something at the time we were doing. I'm really, really into craft beer. I had a craft beer podcast, and I really wanted something that encompassed obviously the dogs, but the fact that we were visiting places like breweries and bars with the dogs. So after a lot of research, I don't know how I landed on 3dogs1bar, but we did. And then a year later, I changed my handle. And could my blog now be called Her Boozy Tales? Yes, but it is what it is. I am happy with it. I'm just don't think about it too much.
I think it's wonderful. I think that it's so easy to get wrapped up about our names.
Yes.
And like my blog is Where Wag Repeat, but on social everywhere I'm T Mystic. And I'm like, it is what it is, everyone.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Honestly, like it's not worth stressing about. It really isn't. People are they're not searching, what's a blog called 3Dogs? No, they're searching for dog friendly recommendations or, dog friendly product or dog, et cetera, et cetera. So does it really matter at the end of the day what it's called?
Yeah, I agree with you. So before we end this conversation, it's just time has flown by. I want to ask you about your dogs. These the three musketeers behind Her Boozy Tales. Tell us how did you come to have dogs of 3 such different sizes?
Yes. Okay. So my husband and I have always loved dogs. I've always had dogs growing up. So when I went to college and moved out of home and moved away from my family dog, I was like, I need a dog immediately. And at the time we were going to school in Nebraska, and my husband and I for funsies used to go, because it's Nebraska, there's really not much to do. For funsies, we used to go to the animal shelter and like pet the dogs and like help out and walk them or whatever was needed. And we really, really wanted to get a dog. And we thought we were going to get a dog at a local rescue when we came back to Austin for the summer. Like we had been doing research. We had our eye on a few of dogs in foster. And then this one day we decided to go to the shelter for no rhyme or reason, just to go look, I guess. And in one of those kennels was the sweetest golden retriever, like a golden retriever just sitting there. And he had a cone on and he had his big wound on his hip. And, we made our rounds, but we kept drifting back to him. His tail didn't stop wagging. So we were like, what's his story? What's a golden doing at a shelter? And he apparently had been found as a stray after being shot. And that was the first day that he had come out of his medical hold because he needed surgery to remove the bullet and needed some time to heal before he was up for adoption. So we literally just stumbled in on the first couple of hours that he was there and available for adoption. We were like, we need him. So we were in college and we were still in a dorm. We had 2.5 weeks left in a dorm, but I was like, I love this dog. I fell in love with him. He's so happy. And so we put in for adoption. I stayed at a friend's house, thankfully, for 2 weeks because obviously I couldn't have a dog in a dorm. And that's how Cooper came to be. So he was our first. We think at the time we were told he was 4. I think he was definitely closer to 7 because right after we got him, like 2 months in, he turned all white. And now he's our grumpy old man, but we love him to death. He's still the happiest dog ever. But and so then we had him for a few months. My husband and I always loved big dogs, and we loved Great Danes, and we had an opportunity to get a beautiful Great Dane puppy. You can kind of see him in this painting behind me. And his name was Apollo, and immediately fell in love with the breed. I think after a couple of months, I turned to Albert and I was like, I can never not have a Great Dane in my life. Apollo was my baby. He was my soul dog. And unfortunately we lost him to lymphoma last year. But before that, because I'm absolutely insane, I was like, well, we've got a big dog. Well, we've got an extra large dog and we've got a big dog. And I kind of want a little dog that we can travel with. And it's easier to take around and do things. And because somehow convinced my husband that 3 dogs was a good idea, it was. And we were at a rescue event one day, and there was this mama dog with all of her puppies that were up for adoption, and left with a puppy in hand that day, not totally planning on it. And that was Brooklyn. That's our little troublemaker. So then we had the trifecta of Great Golden Weenie at that point. And once we lost Apollo, like I said, I could not have another dog. So now we have Lucas, another Great Dane, and they're my everything. They're my little babies.
I love it. It's just so fun to have like all the 3 different sizes. And is your house very hectic or is it calm?
No, surprisingly, okay. People are going to lose their minds over this, but we're actually in an apartment. We used to be in a house with a yard, and if you know anything at all about Austin right now, is that it's growing massively. And our landlord, while we were in the house one day, was like, hey, I just sold the house. I need you out in 60 days. And the market right now is insane. And we couldn't find a house that was where we needed, even remotely close to the area where we needed to be. And we got lucky enough, found an apartment with a yard and downsized. We thought we were going to be moving, so it kind of worked. We ended up not moving. We were going to move to New York. Story for a different day. But so we downsized, and now we're in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 dogs. And honestly, they are the best apartment I've ever asked for. We got very, very lucky.
Well, people say that Great Danes are great apartment dogs.
They really are. Like, despite their size, they make themselves really small, and they're just couch potatoes. They're lazy. Lucas has just turned a year, so like occasionally he'll get the zoomies and run outside, but the rest of the day he's snoring away on the couch.
I love it. Well, Melanie, it's so fun talking to you. Unfortunately, we have to end this episode. But if you want to hear more of me and Melanie talking, you can catch us at the Pet Summit on the panel discussion about blogging. There's how many of us? Like 8 or 9?
Yeah.
And we talk all about blogging, and we're all at different stages, and people shared really great advice. I got a lot of takeaways just from being on the panel.
I know. I was definitely taking notes the entire time.
I think everyone was. So it was a really honest conversation. So that'll be really fun to re-listen to. To everyone want to check out the Pet Summit. I think it's thepetsummit.com. But you can, of course, check out both me and Melanie on social media and find information on how to go to that. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram at TMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wearwagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.